My body feels perversely twisted. The few vague sensations I can feel suggest some hideous schism has occurred, a brutal disunion between hips and spine. I can't move, not even an inch. There's a distinct copper taste on my tongue, and breathing feels like grasping for an object slightly out of reach. I have no idea how much blood I've lost, or how long these shallow inhalations will keep me going. I remember the order of urgency from first aid course I did years ago. Bleeding, breathing, and lastly, broken bones. So I suppose the notion of being crippled is the least of my worries. I know there's a stream nearby, and I can hear the sound of running water. The dimmer switch of the sky is turning towards its lowest setting. I've likely seen the last sunset I will ever see. I needn't worry about darkness though. I've made a point of turning my head torch on before we started the abseil down in the early evening light, just to remind Roger how cross I was with him. When we reached the peak, 2 hours later than I wanted, I suggested that we pack the ropes and just walk back down.
"Don't be such a wet blanket,"
he'd said.
"We'll be done well before sunset."
Naturally, I caved, as I always do. I'd be angry at Roger if I weren't so certain he was dead. No one survives a drop from that height. Evidently, my fall was broken, interrupted, by a protruding ledge below. I imagine this is why I'm having these thoughts at all, although they do seem to be becoming fainter, less rational, dilating in and out like those moments that sometimes precede sleep, when reality starts to slip away. I briefly imagine I'm swimming in the ocean and riding on the back of a motorbike, but soon I'm present and lucid again. I was too focused on the task to know exactly what happened, too preoccupied with carefully sliding the ropes between my hands. There was a rumble, rocks tumbled down, I guess Roger did too. Then came the violent tug and I was torn away, ejected from the wall like an unwanted visitor. I briefly lost consciousness after I hit the ledge, and when I came to, I was precisely where I find myself now. Rock slides are extremely uncommon around here. Impossible, I used to think. This face always seemed so permanent, so immovable. Nothing is permanent, I realize now. Not even mountains.
"No more. That's what I'll tell him when I finish for the day. Either they assign me to other routes from now on, or they can take their job and stick it up their ass. It'd be an horrible road to navigate even in a small motor. To drive down it in a 6-axle truck is completely bloody mental. It should be illegal. Some of my city friends tell me they're envious of where I live. It must be so peaceful, they say. You're so lucky to have that view. How relaxing it must be to live in the mountains. Perhaps it would be if I didn't drive for a living. The fastest way to reach the city didn't involve a brief dance with death. Snake-Sliver Bend is the stuff of nightmares. Section of road you'd expect to find in the mountains of a third world country, not the north of England. I've made a mental note of how many times I've endured it so far. 26. 26 times it never becomes less nerve-wracking. So here it comes, the moment I've dreaded all day. I felt my heart start to pound as I drop into second gear and commence the big incline. It's just so exposed. The only stretch of tarmac not protected by columns of granite. How could this not have crossed their minds when they laid the bloody thing down? Sticking the one section of open road on a bend so sharp it's almost a bloody hairpin. I wouldn't even contemplate tackling it from the other direction. It turns my stomach. The thought of straddling that curve with a sheer death drop to my left. Thankfully I never have to. Only ever use the A roads on the way home. It adds 90 minutes to my journey, and every time the missus complains about how late I am coming home. "At least I'm home in one piece, love," I always reply. The gaffers don't care if I return to the depot after hours. It's only my own time I'm wasting. But right now I'm on the clock with a deadline to make. So here we go. I take the turn wider than I should. I ought to be clinging to the mountain like a limpet. I want to see what's coming though. Suppose there's another HGV heading the other way. Someone with a different mindset to mine. A maniac who's more concerned with getting home than getting home safe. I pass plenty of other large trucks further along the road. It's only for the grace of God that it's never been on the bend. There's not a chance in hell it can accommodate two of us. So I take the turn slow but wide. Too wide, I realise. Because I'm over halfway into the oncoming lane, and I'm nearing the death drop when I see it. I've spotted them so late I barely have a second to react. And the reason for this is clear. They don't have any bloody lights on. Is it a cyclist? Whatever they are, they're heading straight for me. It's easier to veer further into the wrong lane and steer back towards the mountain. After I pull right, I think I see him slice down my inside. It's a motorbike. Up to Christ we haven't made contact. Didn't feel like we did. I managed the turn, but I've took it too wide and braked too late. I'm careering straight towards one of those walls of rock just beyond the bend. I slam my brakes on all the way, but I'm going downhill. Gravity's against me. A thought crosses my mind. At least the rocks will kill my speed. Opposed to the ground several hundred feet beneath it. I smash into the granite. It gives a lot more than I would have expected. I suppose 40 plus tons of machinery and cargo will do that. I've hit it so hard that the whole top section of rock breaks away and plummets over the side. Rather this than me, I think. My airbag explodes in my steering wheel and I feel my head slam back against my seat.
Tarek, I saw your headlight falter when you were riding behind me last night, Bella had said. Obviously I didn't believe her. She's always saying stuff like this. She's the overly cautious type, but more than that, I think she just likes to invent ways to undermine me. Truthfully, I quite like it. I like pretty much everything about Bella. That's why I'm heading to hers without even knowing if she's there. I'll wait on her drive after. While she may not feel the same, I have to finally lay my cards on the table. Can't go on hoping, pining after like some daft teenager. I need to know if I have a chance. I'm at ease on the mountain roads these days. Even Snake-Sliver Bend doesn't worry me like it used to. I can tackle it at 40, even 50 miles an hour without issue. Passed bands on the apex at this speed before with no dramas. My bike is like an extension of me. It yields to my every movement with perfect grace and precision. And if a car happens to be coming from the other direction, I know I'll be able to adjust accordingly. Daylight is fading now though, and as I approach the infamous bend I notice my headlight flicker. Shit, guess Bella was right. And of course it shuts off altogether at the worst possible moment. I'm doing 50 and I've committed to the turn. I see the road ahead plunge into, well, not darkness, but inconvenient dimness all the same. I'm fixated on slowing down now that I make the turn. Then I see it again. The blinding light of powerful headlamps. It's a massive bloody truck. Considering that they're already halfway into my lane when I go to shift left, I think better of it and shift right instead. I miss the truck by inches as I swerve down her inside. Then I lean all the way over until I'm virtually parallel with the road. Ugh. The side of my thigh clips the tarmac before my bike fully shears it. Thank God I've managed to get my speed down. Makes my dismount almost tolerable. Ugh, almost, I think, as my bike spins out from under me. My right shoulder seems to take the brunt of it. I slide along the ground for a few feet before rolling onto my back. After lying there motionless for a moment, I realise I can get up. While it could be the adrenaline, nothing feels broken. My thigh's sore and my shoulder's numb from the impact. But I can move it. I'm fucking indestructible. I sprint around the corner to check on the lorry driver. Christ, his crash is serious. He's carried on around the bend and ploughed into a giant mound of rock on the other side. Demolishing it, it seems. The massive pinnacle that once was has apparently already made the drop. Boulders and other small debris are still rolling off the mountain when I reach his crumpled truck. Fuck, I hope he's alright. Oh, thank God. I see him stepping out of his cab and I slow down to a brisk walk. I'm not telling my insurance company about my headlight. There'll be no way of telling. It's completely bloody smashed. Besides, the driver of the lorry ended up so far out of his lane that he's bound to look at the one at fault. Your bloody headlights are out, he's yelling at me. I walk over to try and change the subject when he repeats this. I know never to admit fault in these situations. At least we're both alright, I say. When we're exchanging information a moment later, the feeling starts to return to my shoulder. It's throbbing like a bastard. I can only imagine my poor bike as a goner. Ah well, I was hoping to get a new one soon anyhow. Hope the payout won't take too long. When I peer down over the edge, I'm sure I can see something glimmering in the dark. Must be a trick of the light though. The truck's headlamps are still working somehow, pointing straight downwards. I know there's a stream at the bottom. Perhaps it's just the light reflecting off the water. Suppose it could have been so much worse. The only real victims are our two vehicles. And the mountain, which has changed forever. That pillar with its top sheared away will serve as a continual reminder of my almost fatal collision. Be a cool thing to tell Bella. I used to think every inch of this thing looked so permanent. But I realise now that nothing is. Not even a mountain. As someone who climbs regularly, I've always been curious to know what it'd be like to experience a fatal fall. Would I have a chance to register what happened? Or would the end be immediate, as it must have been for Roger? Don't know what's better, an instant death or this burden of knowing. I might not be found for days down here, but my thoughts are already starting to slip away again. It won't be long now. In my final moments I think of Tarek. I never got to tell him how I felt.
Hi, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support us, please like, share and subscribe.
There is much more on the way.